In today's episode, I'm joined by one of our amazing clients, Katrine. Katrine is 37 years old, has 2 young daughters, and owns a yoga studio in Germany. She's struggled with her weight her entire life, and before working with us, had lost a decent amount of weight doing some keto, but then was stuck and couldn't get the weight off. With our help, she lost 33 pounds and 9.5 inches, but most importantly, she completely changed her relationship with food, boosted her confidence, and as a consequence, every aspect of her life improved. So if you're feeling stuck in your weight loss journey and you're starting to believe it's not possible for you, make sure you give this episode a listen because we talk about exactly what Katrine did to get the results that she did. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Never Diet Again podcast. I'm joined by Katrine, one of our clients, who has agreed to share her experience having worked with us. So thank you very much for joining us, Katrine.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. So firstly, let's just give some context. What was the situation for you before you started working with us?
I had the classic history of trying every fat diet which is out there. I gained the same 10 kilos and lost them again. And with the first pregnancy, I gained 20 kilos and didn't lose them. With COVID and my second pregnancy, I gained another 20 kilos. And that also caused a lot of health issues, severe back pain, joint pain. I have a hypothyroidism since my early 20s, which got worse and worse, and doubled with an insulin resistance. And before I joined the program, I did 8 months of keto, which is basically eating like no carbs, no sugar. And I lost weight with that, but only 8 kilogram. And it didn't felt very good after 8 months. I felt like I have to change something, but was very afraid to eat normal again because I was afraid that I gained all the weight and more that I lost before. So I was at a point where I've tried everything and nothing really didn't work. But I knew I have to heal my relationship with food and with my body because I have 2 little girls and I'm their role model, and I didn't want to have them growing up learning the same unhealthy patterns and issues that I have, and that they one day will have to go through the same issues I have to go through. So that was one of my biggest motivations. And I read your book before about intermittent fasting and followed you for a long time on Instagram. And one day you posted something like, I have a guide for you. Comment below if you want to have it. And I commented below. And that was the beginning of our journey.
The rest is
Um,
history.
the rest is history, yes. And it's a great one.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing. I do actually remember our first conversation. We used to call it a transformation session. We now call it a coaching consultation. It's quite a powerful call because, really on that call, I'm asking questions which are connecting people with why they want to do this. And sometimes that can be, sometimes people have never been asked those questions before, and it can be quite an emotional call. And I remember actually there was, you felt like you really wanted to do this within your gut. You felt like you wanted to do it, but there was something in your head which is like, oh, this is big, this is scary, I'm not sure. And I remember actually initially, I think you said no, it was I was going to think about it. But then quite quickly, within like an hour, I think, from my understanding, you did think about your daughters and you remembered what your motivation was, and you did end up signing up, which does take a lot of courage. It does take a lot of you know pushing and leaning into those fears that you had. Because put it this way, what would life look like for you now if you hadn't called me back and messaged me saying, "No, I want to do this," and you hadn't started this process, what do you think situation you'd be in?
Actually, the same situation or even worse.
Yeah, I think this is an important lesson for here to hear because I ask this question on these calls quite a lot, like, what's going to happen if nothing changes?
Yeah,
And in some ways, it's a stupid question because nothing in no situation does nothing change. Things always change, and staying the same actually means getting things get worse. Things
yeah,
don't stay the same. Things if your behaviors don't change, things get worse. They don't stay the same.
yeah,
And that is an important anyone listening to this right now, I think it's really important that you realize that staying the same shouldn't be an option because it means getting worse. So yeah, I remember when you joined, one of the hardest things that we had to do was get you out of that keto mindset. Like you definitely were struggling with the idea of like, well, I've done this for ages, nothing works. The only thing that has worked is cutting out carbohydrates. There's no way I can possibly eat carbohydrates. But
yeah.
what actually happened at the start of the program? Do you remember?
I remember my first call with Shane, and we talked through how my nutrition will look like for basically the rest of my life now.
Mm,
And he said, "Well, you have to start eat carbs again, and you have to eat vegetables and fruits again." And I had almost well, not just almost, I had an emotional breakdown because I was so stuck in this keto
mm.
mindset that I said I can't eat fruit again, which is so stupid because fruit is so good for you and it's so yummy. So yes, I jumped. I, and I believed you and I trusted you, and well, nothing bad happened. I eat fruits again and carbs again, and it felt basically very good. So I got rid of that keto mindset very fast. And that was a very healthy thing to do to get rid of that mindset. But in the end, it almost felt like an eating disorder.
Yeah, I mean, I did keto quite religiously for maybe 6 months to a year when I first got into being a personal trainer and getting fit. And I've never really had a problem with my weight. I had a lot of problem with alcohol and drug abuse, but not really with weight, and never really had like an issue with food. But having done keto for 6 months to a year, I definitely started to demonize carbs. I definitely felt guilty for eating carbs, and I definitely made other people feel guilty for eating carbs as well. My then girlfriend, now wife, had to suffer from that for sure, and it took me quite a long time to get out of that mindset actually. So that's someone who doesn't have a history of losing weight loss and a complicated relationship with food. So imagine the damage that something like that can do if you already have a complicated relationship with food and problem with weight.
Yeah, it's huge. It was
Yeah,
huge.
and I love your choice of wording as well. You said you had your first call with Shane, and he said you have to eat carbs. I mean, how great is that? What other that anyone listening to this now, that should be kind of music to your ears. We're not just saying that you can eat carbs. We're saying you have to eat carbs to get the results that you want. And I do remember as well, I'm just trying to get your graph up, but from memory, I think as soon as you started incorporating the carbohydrates, you did actually start to lose weight,
Yeah,
like
very
almost
quick.
within the first week. Is that right?
Yeah, very quick.
Very
And it
difficult.
was also this protein uptake
Yeah.
that was also a thing because I wasn't hungry anymore.
Mm. Yeah, protein is for sure the most filling macronutrient. Yeah, it's a powerful realization for anyone listening. And I think there could be a variety of things why you weren't losing weight before. It could be that you weren't actually in a calorie deficit because, the keto, although for a lot of people, it does make people make eating less easier because you're cutting out quite a lot of foods and it's quite restrictive. If you are eating a lot of fat, actually fat does contain quite a lot of calories. But then it could also be, as a woman, you could have been putting yourself in a very stressful state. um, it could be messing with hormones beneath the surface, especially if you've already got a history of that. And fueling yourself and giving your body what it needed may have been the switch for your body to be like, oh, actually, I can come out of that stress, the fight or flight mode, and I can start to relax and actually do what I should be doing.
Yeah. I think in my case, I also had phases where I just didn't eat enough.
Mm, definitely. And I
So
think,
you also don't lose weight if you eat not enough. That was also a very powerful realization for me, that I have to fuel my body and I have to eat to lose weight. I love that.
yeah, for sure, women, for a variety of reasons, are more sensitive to physical stress on the body. And there's two things that happen. Potentially you're putting yourself into that stressful state, which means hormones change and you hold on to fat ultimately. But then also what happens is women go through periods of not eating enough, but then overeating and binging.
Yeah.
And even if the overeating and binging is once a week, that could be enough to push you into a surplus, which means the weight doesn't come off. So yeah, just everyone's probably going to want to know, what were the numbers for you, having worked with us? How much weight did you lose?
So I lost 33 pounds and 9.5 inches on my waist.
Wow, it's incredible results. And especially since, at the start of the program, you felt, because I think, do you remember how much time you hadn't lost any weight? I think you'd lost weight initially, but then you were stuck for a period of time. Is that right?
Yeah, 5 months.
5 months. So
Yeah,
5 months of feeling like a failure, 5 months of continuing to try to lose weight, but nothing happened. And then
yeah,
as soon as you get the right support and accountability and the right advice for you as an individual, 33 pounds and 9.5 inches comes off,
yeah.
which is incredible. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Very good. Very, very good. And every pound I didn't had to carry around anymore was a blessing.
Definitely.
I felt it on my joints. I felt it on my back. I could move more. I could play more active with my girls. So it just changed my whole life, my everyday life. So there were so many things I am now able to do again, which is just so great.
Like what?
Well, I remembered that was one of the most emotional moments on my journey. I'm do every night. I'm doing the plane with my girls, so I'm
Mm.
taking them and just bouncing them around and then throwing them on the bed. And I could do it with my little one because she's 4, like easy. But I couldn't do it with my firstborn anymore because my back was hurting and I
Mm.
just couldn't take her up, and she was very sad about that. And there was the point I lost, I think, 20 pounds and started to do kettlebell training, and I was getting stronger and stronger, and I could do that with her again, and she was so happy about that and told me, "Mom, I'm so proud of you, you're getting stronger and stronger every
Amazing.
day." And that was such a great motivation for me to go on. And yeah, so such a powerful moment for me.
Yeah, I really want to lean into that and um, build on what you're saying, because a lot of the people that we speak to are very disconnected from the reality of the situation. So they don't necessarily realize how bad it is, because the situation becomes normalized. And I think what you did, which is really powerful, because if you hadn't started this journey with us, what would have happened is it would have been normal for you not to be able to play with your children in the way that you want.
Yeah,
Like, initially you would have had that, like, oh, you would have been thinking about it, but if it kept happening, it just would have become the norm. And your daughter would have just shifted her expectations and thought, well, mummy can't play with me like that. And I
yeah,
think that is so detrimental in the long term, but unfortunately most people don't realize it. And I think in some ways it's a good thing, because if you were really conscious of how bad it was, you'd be very depressed all day, every day.
yeah,
But, think about those small moments that you're now having with your daughters, which wouldn't have been there before. When those small moments combined every single day, every single week, every single month over many years means that you have a much more powerful relationship and stronger relationship with them.
Yeah.
And that is ultimately this kind of win that you're describing is why I do what I do. You know,
Yeah.
the numbers and the weight loss is great. Everyone wants to hear that, but it's it what those what addressing the root cause of the problem and getting the support and accountability that you need, what that does to your life and your confidence and your relationships with your children, your family, that is the most powerful thing for me.
Yeah, and at the start of the journey, the start of the program, I just didn't believe this sentence you always telling us that there will be the day where the scale doesn't matter anymore. So the numbers on the scale won't matter anymore. There will be other things that gets way more important. And I thought, yeah, I don't think so. But that day came very fast for me. So
Yeah, it's it's something that people might understand logically and intellectually. Like I know that if I want to lose weight, I need to be less obsessed with the number on the scale. But it only you only truly feel it on a deeper, more emotional level once you go through the process that we take our clients through. When you start to shift your focus and address the most important things, which is your mindset, your relationship with food, your confidence, your self-esteem, your identity, your emotional regulation. Those things are have a far more powerful impact on your day-to-day life. And then, the number on the scale just becomes less significant.
yeah.
So yeah, really powerful. What how would you compare your relationship with food before to now?
Before it was a very unhealthy relationship. Food was something that I used to cope with my with stress or
Mm,
emotional issues. Um, I wasn't aware of that, but it was in fact. Um, and there was food that I labeled as good and healthy, and food that was bad. And now it's like I'm using food now to nurture myself. Food is something that's good for me now. So I'm basically healed that relationship. And I can eat every food I want now. But I know now that like I love a good pizza on an
who
Italian
doesn't?
place, yeah, or pasta. But I know if I eat too much of it, it's not good for me.
Mm,
So it's something I really enjoy every 2-3 weeks. But then it's good, and I love now my healthy food. I'm experimenting a lot with vegetables right now and different protein sources, and I just love that. That is my new normal. That's not I have to eat healthy food. It's I want to eat healthy food because it's good for me and I really like it, and that's a huge win.
definitely. I think learning how to process your emotions in ways which don't involve food is an incredibly powerful experience to happen. Um, how else has your like with this newfound kind of confidence in yourself and improved relationship with food, how other than with the impact on your family, how else has it impacted your life, would you say?
It freed up a lot of energy, and
Mm,
it freed up a lot of time and space in my head. Because before the program, everything was about food. What I can eat? Will I gain weight? I have eaten too much. Now I'm feeling bad. That was my everyday conversation with myself,
mm.
and now that I solved that issue and I healed my relationship with food and myself, there is so much time for other things and so much
Yeah,
energy. It took away so much energy. Um, yeah,
Do you think you realized how much time you were wasting thinking about this before?
no, no.
Mm. This is another unfortunate thing is, by the sounds of it, obsessing about food and thinking about it all the time was just normal for you. You didn't necessarily know any different. Um, and it's only once, and I've heard this repeatedly with a lot of the clients that we work with, is it's only once you get yourself out of it and you're on the other side, do you then look back and think, wow, I was obsessing about food all the time. And that
Yeah,
left me, let's say, 50% of your energy on a day-to-day basis was being consumed by obsessing about your weight and food. That leaves 50% for your family and the things that actually matter. Your family, your job, your friends, and that if you've only got 50% capacity to deal with the things that actually matter, that is not just having an impact on you, that's having an impact on every other aspect of your life, your children, your partner, your job, everything.
yeah.
So yeah, really, really powerful.
And it's
What
also, it was normal for me that my body was hurting.
mm,
That's a huge issue. I now know what a body does that feels who doesn't hurt anymore.
which is
So getting
incredible.
used to pain, that this is really, I just thought about it that week. I don't have back pain anymore.
Wow. I'm
My
jealous.
range,
I've got back pain at the moment.
oh no. My range of motion is much, much more better than before the program
Mm. I
because
mean,
when you lose weight, you can move more.
yes, and this is the thing. It becomes a virtuous cycle, a positive feedback loop
Yeah,
where you lose weight, you feel it's easier to move, which means you move more, which means it's easier to lose weight. And it just kind of keeps going round and round like that. And I think the issue, many of yourself included, the clients that at the start, they're stuck in a vicious cycle where the weight's coming on, therefore there's more pain and it's harder to move, which means it's easier to put on the weight.
yeah,
And then it continues going around like that, potentially endlessly until you get the support and accountability that you need.
yeah.
What would you say to anyone who was thinking of getting the support and accountability from us or anyone else? What would you say to someone who was nervous and who was scared about committing to themselves in this way and getting the support and accountability?
Um, I can understand that because I was in the same place, but it's so worth it. Well, in the first place, you have to believe in you guys.
Yeah.
um, then learn how to believe in yourself and in your body again. And that's a journey that's so worth taking. So just do it. Just jump.
The phrase that I usually use is choose what's more scary. Is it getting support and accountability and going through this process which can seem scary and intimidating? Or is it staying stuck exactly where you are for the rest of your life? Remember, as we said, when you stay the same, things don't stay the same, things get worse. So
Yeah.
what's more scary to you? Because both ways are scary, but only one way is going to lead to you potentially getting the results that you want.
I think the magic of your program is the accountability and the support you get, because you can lean into that process, knowing that every issue that comes your way, you have someone you can ask. So there is always someone there who will support you. And that takes a lot of pressure from you. Knowing every question I have, I will get an answer to it. And that is very, very powerful. And that was one thing I needed to get used to ask for help, getting used to ask for support, and nothing bad will happen when you do. Something great will happen when you ask for help and support. That was also one of my biggest learning, and to not, you can't, you can't hide from you guys. You
No.
have to put your numbers on display, and but you don't get judged for it. You get a solution for it, and that was very great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think our clients that get the best results do exactly what you just described, is they really lean into the support and accountability, and they understand that th- as coaches, we are never ever going to judge our clients. And I think that's part of the problem with the fitness and fat loss industry. The classic personal trainer is, shouting at you, and, you're lazy, you don't have motivation. If you're not getting results, it's your fault. And that is the opposite of how we approach the situation. We use compassion and curiosity. So if something has gone wrong, we're not like, what's wrong with you? Why haven't you done it? We're like, okay, let's understand this. Why do you think this happened? What happened in the days before? How are you feeling? Did you have a lot of stress? Did you not eat enough food? And that process of compassion and curiosity, then you actually learn why things aren't going the way that you think they should. And then when you know that, that empowers you to actually work on the things that are causing the problems, instead of just, you're not motivated, you don't have discipline.
Yeah. And I was, to be honest, a little bit afraid before joining the program, because I thought, well, these are two guys
Yeah.
who have no kids. How
And
will
then
they understand my reality and my life? But you really do. You really, really do. And I like that very, very much, because often the reality of working moms isn't taken seriously. You know what I
mm,
mean? And in that program, you implement that we are all moms. Most of us
yeah,
are all moms. Most of us are all working. So I really like that, because my reality isn't the same as a 20-year-old male. It's different. And you have to take that in the process, because otherwise
definitely.
it will cause a lot of stress.
Definitely. And look, that's why the program is only for women, because men and women are very different. Not Men and women are equal, but they're not the same. They're different. The psychology, the physiology, the societal pressure, the fact that women carry and have children and men don't. So, Shane and the team and I, we have as much understanding as we possibly could. Obviously, we're never going to truly deeply understand and experience what it's like to be a woman, because that's not possible at the moment. Who knows what will happen in the future? Um, but yeah, we do have that level of understanding and that compassion. Ultimately, that weight loss is harder for women. It's as simple as that. So, Katrine, you are a yoga instructor and you have a yoga studio. How would you say losing this weight, not being in pain, has impacted your job and your career and your business?
Well, it made it way more easy for me, because I'm now able to do more classes. I'm not low in energy at the weekend, so I don't need the weekend anymore to recover. And it also opened up a different career path for me, because I'm back in school becoming a nutritionist myself. So it also changed a lot on my career front. And I'm very happy about it. And I'm still at the beginning of the nutritionist training, but it feels like there's big coming in the future for me. Yeah.
And is this something that you had wanted to do for a while, but maybe didn't have the confidence to do it?
Yeah. Because I always thought, if I'm overweight myself, how could I tell people how to behave differently? So I wouldn't believe myself if, you're a nutritionist, you're overweight. Why should I listen to you? You haven't solved the problem for you. Yeah, but now I have. So
That's, again, this is why I do what I do, because we've now got two examples in your life of how, especially with your daughters, you weren't playing with them, but now your relationship with them has improved drastically and will continue to improve as a consequence of that. But also how you were being held back before, in your career and in your passions and in your life, by being stuck carrying this extra weight. And I think, again, that would have just become normalized. It would have been more and more normal to not do things and to be held back by your weight. And the fact that you've got yourself out of that and you're saying yes to things, you've gone to school like you weren't before. Now that is going to lead you on a completely different path to if you had just stayed where you are. And that that path, in a short period of time, they're quite close together. But the longer time goes on, the destination that you end up is completely different. A year down the line, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, your life is going to be completely and utterly different because you've been through this process, which again is why I do what I do. Final kind of question. Lots of people are afraid that they will get results when they're following instructions and they have the accountability and support, but then, the weight will come back on, they'll return back to their existing behavior. And so you actually haven't had one-on-one coaching for us for quite a while now. How many months have you not had the one-on-one support?
I think the last one was in April.
April. So how has it been between April and now? How are you feeling? And how confident are you that you won't ever return back to what you were doing before?
Well, the first 3 months I had weekly calls with Shane. And then another 3 months I had, I think, bi-weekly calls. So it was just a very nice fading out phase. And I then joined after that the school community. I don't Yeah, the group. So that was for me a great way to just slowly stepping out on the high support to a low support, and to do it on my own pace and space and time. I had times where it was harder. So every time my life gets very stressful, it gets harder. But with every stress period, I'm learning more. So I now can feel, okay, this week is going to be very stressful. I have to watch very close what I eat, what I behave, how I talk to myself. And that is what I learned in that program, that awareness, when does stress come, how can I deal with it, and what patterns are getting active. And I'm still learning, I'm still working with myself. It's a process that's going on and on and on, but it's now a way that is leading me up the mountain and down again. Yeah. So I was afraid when the one-on-one coaching ended that I will fall back into old patterns. But Shane told me, yeah, when that happens, we schedule another call and have a look why that happened.
Yeah, I think what is really important is to kind of set expectations for anyone listening now. So going through a process like this doesn't mean that you are fixed and perfect at the end. And it doesn't mean that life is never going to be challenging or stressful. It just means that you now have a set of skills, tools, and understanding on how to cope with stressful situations and things that happen. Whereas, before you don't have those tools, you don't have those skills, and your reactions just make the situation worse. And I
Yeah.
think that's kind of what you were describing is like you've now got this understanding. You know exactly what you need to focus on. You know what your risk factors are and what your triggers are. And with that, you can, work on those yourself. And again, it doesn't mean that things go to shit every now and then. It doesn't mean that you have you never have a week of doing the opposite. It just means that you ultimately never give up and you know exactly what you need to return to afterwards.
Yeah. And this is one very important thing. I learned how to pick myself up again and get myself back on track. And I think this point is something many people fail on the weight loss journey. And you have to learn that, to pick yourself up again and again and again. And these situations will get less in the journey if you do it right. So,
Yeah, 100%. The only way that you fail ultimately is by giving up.
yeah,
So failure isn't having a week of emotional eating or not exercising. That's not failure. The failure is the reaction afterwards where you tell yourself you failed and that you're giving up. That's
yeah,
failure. So it's never the perceived mistake, which is the problem. It's the reaction to the perceived mistake, which is causes all the problems. And I think that can be a really powerful realization to have.
yeah,
Katrine, thank you so much for today. I know it is nerve-wracking to do these podcasts and to open up in this way, but yeah, thank you. It's been a great conversation. Hopefully anyone listening can be motivated and inspired. And yeah, look forward to hearing from you soon.
yeah. Thank you.